Hello, and welcome again to another episode of A Diary of an Aspiring Med Student. Breakups, career failures, mm, possibly disappointing your parents, losing money. There are so many reasons to grieve in this life. And recently, I went through a breakup, and while I will admit that I I probably recovered in a way that might be considered cheating, or like they probably hacked the recovery period because I saw other people when I was recovering from the breakup. I didn't deliberately see other people, but I went for however I felt. But there was a time when I was so crushed, not because of a breakup, but because of a career failure, that I learned one trick. I didn't come across it in a book, I didn't come across it in a blog, not online. I went with my intuition. I was in a company that paid me really well, but the boss finally let me go, and it crushed me. I was so crushed for another career failure that I grieved. And when I recognized that I started grieving, I told myself to give myself just 1 month, and that was it, and that I would stop grieving. Since that time, oh yeah, I did stop grieving by the end of that month. I picked myself up and I started applying to new jobs again, and eventually I think I found another job within weeks. Um While working online has its perks that you can find another employer in just weeks or days even, um, there's still an element of grief whenever there's loss. And the point is that whenever one would grieve, it's strange to hear that you can put a deadline on it, right? But it worked for me. I stopped grieving by the end of that month because I was very disciplined with my emotions. I pushed myself to stop wallowing, to stop moping, and to just get out there and go get another job. Regarding the breakups I've had, I didn't really put a deadline on it. Like, I just allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to heal. I didn't really um I didn't really like be as calculated about it. Um so as I was saying, when I was in that actually it was a series of breakups. When I was in those breakups, I wasn't really calculated about it. Seeing other people just happened. I was just chasing my feelings. But I didn't really dwell long in the healing process, especially in the depression part of the healing process. Not because I put a deadline on myself, but because I was so used to healing that it was no longer a big deal for me. I thought I would heal for longer, but I noticed that I've recovered. But this is really one major hack, life hack, that I would say that I recommend to people who are stuck in their grieving stage. I would really highly recommend that you put a deadline on your grief. Um, a month, 2 months, 3 months, those are decent amounts of time for you to grieve, actually. I decided to record this podcast about how putting a deadline on your grief could be helpful for you, because one of my friends, a guy, is undergoing a breakup, and he's had his ups and downs about it, and tonight I recommended to him to put a deadline on his grief. I told him about my story that I just told you about, the part about where I um, put a deadline on grieving for that job that I lost. So, hmm, it remains to be seen if it works for him as well, but it definitely worked for me, especially during that time. It worked for me so hard that I no longer use it, and it's just instinct nowadays for whenever I needed to heal. So, it's not really just a matter of doing life hacks like that, like setting a deadline or what. It's also about the discipline that when you decide that you're done with yourself, with I mean not really done with yourself, but done with the negative emotions, with the sad feelings, with the pain, or dwelling on the pain, when you decide that you're done, it's time to get up and to move on. And I think that's the most important part of what I've learned with the hack that I instinctively imposed on myself years ago. I think I did that back in 2013, I believe. So you can imagine it's almost 10 years, but I've had so many heartbreaks, both career and personal life wise. And I would say that I've become so resilient, and it started from there, I believe. So, yeah, if there's anything that I could leave you with in this episode, it's that put a deadline on your grief. And more importantly, have the discipline to leave the negativity behind and to start to live again. Make a decision to live. Um, there's a beautiful song. I believe the name of the artist is Daniel Goki. Let me look it up. Tell your heart to beat again, I believe. Yeah. Let me read some of the lyrics. Tell your heart to beat again. Close your eyes and breathe it in. Let the shadows fall away. Step into the light of grace. Yesterday is a closing door. You don't live there anymore. Say goodbye to where you've been and tell your heart to beat again. The lyrics, the song will be in the, let me see. The video itself will be in a link at in the description of this podcast, so you can go listen and read the lyrics as a reference. So yes, tell your heart to beat again. That's the thing. Tell yourself to get up, tell yourself to walk away from your past, and tell yourself to face the future and enjoy the future. Not just enjoy the future, enjoy your present. That's more important. Being present in the present is far more important, and enjoy it, please. You will never get to the future without living your today. So be present, enjoy it to the full, and be happy every step of the way. So, this has been a diary of an aspiring medical student, and I hope you have a happy weekend.